Now, my intention was for this Khamzat video to be in the same video as this Ryan Garcia video about Bad Baby, a.k.a. the Cash Me Outside girl getting beat up. And Ryan Garcia, promising to love her and take care of her forever after he takes care of the guy that beat her up. However, as things tend to happen, they went a little bit long, So this is a separate video now. So if you hear me referencing that type of, like I told you guys I'm going to tell the blah, it's because this was going to be part of that video. I'm not going through and editing every single time I reference that out. So if it sounds weird, it's because there's another video that's dropping today or may have already dropped about Ryan Garcia, Bad Baby, domestic violence, and some crazy stories that I have about the same topic. So anyway, but in this video, we are going to talk about Khamzat Chimaev getting arrested, like an arrest story that kind of, in my opinion, changes the landscape on how you see Khamzat Chimaev in general. And, like immigration, things like that, because today we've got a big topic in the United States related to immigration. And I just have some really strong feelings about what should be the case. If you want to give amnesty to people, how should that affect what they're expected to be in the country while they are in the country certainly at the beginning, right? So that's what this topic is going to be on this video. Like I said, I meant to do these two things together. So if it might sound, if you hear anything that sounds like, what the fuck is he talking about? That's why. But go ahead and subscribe to the channel right now. I love you guys. I want to thank the sponsor of this video, Kratom. We talk about it all the time. $60 kilograms, the most incredible deal you will ever get on Kratom. If you're a daily user, YoKratom.com gets to you in 2 days, just like Amazon. That's YoKratom.com. Check them out. Now, shout out to Red Pill MMA because he is the one who I learned about this Khamzat Chimaev story from. Right now, in the Texas area that I live in, the internet is out, and that is killing me. My hotspot won't even work because every person in the entire area is on the network. So I literally have no internet. However, I have some stuff preloaded. The Ryan Garcia story, see, is preloaded, so I'm going to be able to show you guys that. But I can't show any videos. So I just wanted to say shout out to Red Pill because he's the one who told me about this story. Now, what am I talking about here when it comes to the immigration stuff? First, we're going to talk about the Bad Baby, violence to women, Ryan Garcia thing. And then I'll actually tell you guys a couple stories as well of like incidents that I have been a part of where I've witnessed someone being violent towards a woman and then what we did about it and all that stuff. Because there's a couple stories. Actually, I might have the funniest story of all time about a girl getting slapped by a dude. How could that story possibly be funny? You just said that we should drown guys in the pool for that. Well, I have one story where a dude slapped a girl hard that I laugh every single time that I talk about it. So stay tuned for that. Anyway, but we'll start with Khamzat Chimaev. Okay, so I think it's fair to say that everybody's been speculating for a very long time, right? About why can't Khamzat fight in the United States? I have never felt like I had any idea about that, right? I really haven't. First of all, I watched him fight in the United States, okay? I saw him fight in the United States, in Jacksonville against Gilbert Burns. I think that's the last time that he fought there. So I'm not saying that this incident related to his immigration is the reason, because this obviously happened well before that. I think now it's because of where he lives and who he is aligned with. Listen, I don't understand the State Department when it comes to that stuff, and I'll talk about that in a second. But I do want to talk about the crime that he committed in Sweden. So here's the deal. Okay, so Khamzat Chimaev grows up in Chechnya. He's a political refugee or, a refugee where they fled that country for safety. They end up going over to Sweden. Obviously, this is a huge issue in Europe about, essentially Muslim refugees from war-torn areas and, how many are taken in and how that affects the local culture and all that stuff. I mean, this is like a topic of conversation that is constantly being talked about in Europe. I don't know what the, I don't really know what the tone of the conversation is like in Sweden at all. And I don't, it's not my business, dude. I don't live in those countries. And I have no information. I can't add anything to the conversation. I just do know that is a very, very hot topic in all of those areas. Now, what I will say though, is in my opinion, in the UK as an example, because I do know more about that. If people are given any kind of amnesty for their status coming over from any country, certainly, this is not just any Muslim country, any country, period. You let them in because they're like, oh my God, I'm fleeing a terrible situation. And in many cases they are. So I'm not trying to be flippant about the way that I say it, but if they are given amnesty, that comes with conditions, okay? Condition number one is you better mind your fucking P's and Q's in the country. And what I mean by that is if you commit a violent crime, you're fucking gone, Like if you come and you are a bane on society. And what I'm talking about specifically are these God, I don't want to say that, and I get certain like terms get like flagged or whatever. But what do you sweep with? A broom. So brooming gangs, right? Except with a G. That's a completely real thing in the UK. I just learned all about this week. These brooming gangs that these guys have money, right? And they have these groups of guys, and they'll befriend these young girls, UK girls, white girls, and they'll get them hanging out with them. They're like, you're talking 14 years old, 13, 14 years old. And they're like, oh my God, he's got such an amazing car, and these guys are in their 20s and 30s. And so they're driving around, they're super nice to him. And these girls are like, you don't understand, Mom. You don't even understand, Mom. They're so cool. You just don't know them, Mom. But where that's going is after a certain amount of time of establishing trust, they are brooming them into turning them out and then literally turning them into professionals that get paid money to get turned out, okay? Like the stories that I heard this week, I was like, are you... it's the kind of thing that would never happen to certain types of families because immediately that would get nipped, But you have to have a person who's like dialed in and paying very close attention to what their daughter's doing. And if they see certain things, it's like you do whatever you have to do to make that stop. I'll knock on wood because I certainly consider myself to be a father that would make that stop. But I don't know. I don't want to challenge the universe. That could never happen. It's like, oh yeah, that could never happen. But nonetheless, what happens to those girls is they have their lives destroyed by these guys, okay? And they're not even citizens of the country. They have been given amnesty into the country, and then their contribution is they take the children of the country members there and they turn them into like property that they pass around and destroy their lives in the worst possible way that they'll never recover from. Completely break their brain, turn them into objects that are passed. Dude, I would... they're like, we're fleeing this place because ISIS, they're animals. I would make ISIS look like a fucking Disney movie if they did that to one of my kids. A Disney movie. I would be on the cartel level. Like, that's the most insane way that you could do a person in like that. Anyway, sorry. I can't help myself whenever I think about that stuff. It's like, but like people who are doing that, get the fuck out, dude. Get out of here. Get them out. You know what I mean? Get them out. If you were given the ability to be here. Okay? If you don't respect your status and what your status is here, which is not a citizen of this country, right? Listen, dude, if you're here and you're chilling, I have no issue with anybody. But you're part of a brooming gang, you and all of your friends can either die or get out of here immediately, okay? So that's an extreme example, obviously. And I'm not saying that what Khamzat did is even in the same conversation at all as of those guys. My point is just that there is a threshold of where you're like, you understand that like you're not the same as the people who were born here at this stage. You can earn your way to that, but like if you've only been here for a little while, you are on a probationary period, right? So when Khamzat was in Sweden, he had an incident where him and his friends went into like a headphone store. His friend was stealing a pair of headphones and a security guard grabbed him and Khamzat lit the guy up, okay? It's not that big of a deal, It's not that big of a deal. It's just not that big of a deal. But it did happen, right? He did assault a security guard. He argued that it was a self-defense situation. I'm not attacking Khamzat on this really. Like, this is like, he's young, dude. This is what kids do. He was a professional already, though. He was only 6-0 when he got into the UFC. He was 1-0 when this happened. He had to get citizenship into the United Arab Emirates. Then he ended up in Chechnya, and that is almost certainly why he can't come to the United States, because there are policies related to, people who are aligned with Khamzat Chimaev. Again, I have always been very clear. I'm not saying I wouldn't go, Gaethje and Kamaru, and I think Triple C went with Ali Abdelaziz to Chechnya to have an experience there. And everybody was breaking their balls about that. And I completely defended them. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? Okay, this is like political theater, right? If my manager, if I'm with Ali Abdelaziz and I trust him, exclusively, and then he's like, no, dude, listen, I know them. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be safe. And he says, we're going to go out there. We're going to meet some kids. We're going to go shoot some guns. We're going to go to the gym. It'll be a great time. Dude, I'm going. What I'm saying is that the political status of the United States relationship, with Khamzat Chimaev and, Khamzat being so aligned to him, I don't know, dude. Listen, I'm glad I'm not in charge of the, immigration process, but him being a professional fighter in the UFC, it's pretty stupid to not allow him to travel to the United States. I don't think that makes a lot of sense, but it does explain why there aren't more Chechen fighters probably. Anyway, so that I don't know. I'd never heard that story. It just seems very relevant. And the reason why we're talking about it today, as it relates to the United States, what I alluded to earlier, is, let me see if I can just show you, actually. So, bottom line, today, let's not get bent out of shape. We don't need to get into the whole political conversation unless you guys want to. You can explain in the comments why this makes sense. The Biden administration and the Democrats have just come out to oppose a rule that is trying to be passed that would require that people prove that they are citizens of the United States in order to vote. Okay? So again, this is the rule that's proposed. Let's verify that the voters are citizens of the United States. And Biden said he'll veto it. Not just they're opposing it, he'll veto it. And the Democrats refused to support it and said they'll fight against it. I'm just going to leave you with that. Okay? If you think that you agree with, this is the thing, dude. Forget about the teams, man. Forget about, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican. Forget about that. This is a simple question. Do you think that people should be required to prove that they are citizens of the United States before they vote? Yes or no? And if no, explain it. Explain it. And if you say yes, but then you find out that the Democrats are against it, and so you're like, you know what? No. Actually, I am against it. Hey, start thinking about how you're making decisions, dude, because this is pretty black and white. There's no question that people should have to prove they're citizens of the United States to be able to vote in federal elections in the United States. There's no middle ground on this. They bottom line. So if you find yourself compelled to fight against that just because you heard Biden's going to veto it and you're, our team is against it. Maybe your team are cheaters and they are trying to subvert the way that elections work because they know they can't win. So they open up the border, they allow 1 billion people to come in, and they're like, there's no reason for us to check IDs. There's no reason for us to do verification. Do you want to see the funniest thing of all time, by the way? Why don't you take a gander at this little thing that I saw on the interweb today, okay? I don't know, something about this just makes me wonder why I should be suspicious of how this election is going to shake out. Oh, there's a poll that says that Kamala Harris would beat Trump in the national election. Kamala Harris is going to win against Donald Trump. Really? I'll tell you what, go throw an event with her. Let's see how many people show up. Then do the same thing with Trump. Cool. Or have her walk into any sporting event in the world, which is a massive poll, and let's just see what the response is. Let's see if they boo or they cheer. Okay, that's a real poll. There is 0% chance she would beat him. None. Zero, not one chance if you have a real fair deal going on. Now, 1 second ago, I just got internet access back. So I want to show you a little bit of this Red Pill video, and we're going to go through. I mean, everybody knows this story, but I think that it is definitely worth listening to again now with this new information that, Khamzat had this, violent episode in Sweden. And then now let's go revisit when Conor said whatever, and Khamzat said that he was going to travel internationally to attack Conor McGregor. Let's listen to this.
Especially from shills that thought it was some sort of win. When Khamzat Chimaev was arrested after he flew to Ireland to beat up Conor McGregor for insulting Khabib Nurmagomedov.
I'm sorry, arrested? Dude, I had no idea he got arrested. So he got arrested twice. He got arrested twice. Wow. Okay. That's, I mean, again, so we have already, literally, this is the first I'm hearing of that. I had no idea that he got arrested. All right. So he gets to Sweden. He's a Chechen, immigrant who's fled because of XYZ. He assaults a security guard, punches him in the face. It's a professional fighter. Okay. It's not just like some rando kid. He's a professional fighter who punches a security guard in the face. Then he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go travel internationally to go like physically assault another European citizen." Like, put that in perspective, okay? Like, seriously, think about this in perspective. We know who Khamzat is. We love the guy as a fighter, or we did before he launched a dirty crypto thing or whatever. But like, forget that you know him and just read this the way that you would read a news article. So this young man in his 20s fled Chechnya. Well, let me actually reframe this the way it would be. Muslim man from Chechnya fled violence in the country, immigrates to Sweden. Once in Sweden as a refugee, he assaults a security guard in furtherance of a crime while being a professional fighter. He is already a professional fighter, and he assaults a security guard, punches him in the face, and hurts the guy. Then, while already being convicted of that, he gets arrested because he's flying internationally to another European country with the sole intent of attacking a specific other European citizen. Like, what would you suggest that someone did with that guy? Expel him from the country? I'm saying, I'm not like suggesting that Khamzat should have been expelled from Sweden. I'm just saying you have to behave. You can't just do whatever you want, especially when it comes to violence. Let's continue.
Interesting. Very interesting story. Completely fake. 100% fake. When you go through what he actually says, he flew to Ireland and he was pretending to be part of a wrestling team that was going there to help Conor McGregor compete against Khabib Nurmagomedov. He was stopped in the airport for 8 hours. And why? Why was he stopped? Was it because he had a criminal record coming from Sweden as an economic migrant/refugee rat? Was that possibly the case, that he got stopped for 8 hours and questioned? So as his story goes, after he was released from the airport police, he decided to walk out of the airport and go and beat up Conor McGregor or some garbage like that. As he was walking out of the airport, he gets arrested by armed response SWAT teams. There's not really anything like that in Ireland. There's a couple of lads like with a pair of combat pants, like not really SWAT team-ish, to be honest with you. Why did they come up and stop him? Did they get word that he was going after Conor McGregor? No.
Oh, okay. So he's just saying this is a lie.
It's all fake rubbish. More than likely the story went is that he was a criminal and he was a migrant and he didn't respect the country that gave him refuge, and this showed because of the behavior and the charges that were held against him, and it shows up on your passport. That's the way it worked. And then concocted this huge story about, I went there to fight Conor McGregor and got arrested by SWAT teams. Fake.
Yeah, he probably also doesn't know the difference between traditional customs agents and SWAT teams. You know what I mean? But the fact that he admitted that he pretended to be part of a wrestling team with the sole intention of going to assault a European citizen when he already has this previous arrest that we just found out about for assaulting another citizen in Sweden where he's been given amnesty. I mean, that is crazy when you really think about it. He's not just assaulting people in Sweden. He's actually actively making plans to fly to other countries for whatever reason. Who cares why? To fly to other countries to assault other people who are citizens of that European country when he has amnesty. I mean, is it just me that sounds totally insane or what? Would you expect to be given any kind of, favorable treatment in whatever country that you're in? If that's, you're like, oh, thank you so much for letting us stay here. They're like, oh, so what are you going to do with your time? It's like, well, I am a professional fighter, so I feel like I'm gonna take those skills and I'm gonna go assault people out in the streets and then potentially even fly to another country to assault them. Like, that really is crazy. The only reason it seems normal to us is because Khamzat's a professional fighter, and so we love that stuff. We're like, damn, that guy's crazy. That dude's crazy. I can't wait to see him fight in a cage. But now we're talking about like immigration stuff. We're talking about like reality outside of this kind of bubble of weirdness that we all operate in. I don't know. To me, that seems very notable, and it makes, puts the whole thing in perspective, in my opinion. Anyway, that's enough for this video. I love you guys. Subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell. Bye-bye.